What's up, guys and gals? Your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing to you a very exciting chapter of Miscellaneous! Chapter 14, entitled Calm Down Kid. And like the Butch Kid and the Calm Down Kid and the... Anyways, point of the fact is that this is a very exciting chapter. This is a very tension-building chapter and a very sort of chapter. Now, if you guys don't know what I mean, definitely go read the chapter yourself. Go read the chapter from Miscellaneous, chapter 14. Getting right into it, though, we don't really see... we don't jump away from the scene from the end of the last chapter. This one is actually done quite well. A lot of the dialogue usage I actually have to praise Band for, because it's easy for things to sound cheesy or one-dimensional or bland. But now that we have some different personalities all in the scene together, you can sort of tell the differences on how they interact and how Band wants them to... like almost speech patterns, almost in a sense, you know what I mean? I think he's paying a little more close attention to that kind of stuff, because here, I mean, it's about the visuals, it's about what's going on, but it's about the dialogue, I feel, more. About what people are saying that's going on, more so. The visuals are nice and everything, but yeah, so... At the end of the day, we begin the chapter off with Clover and Fuse, of course. Koji and Marsh just got completely traumatized by Clover and her boom, death stare, her conqueror's hockey, if you will. And so Fuse, of course, came onto the scene to sort of try to defuse the scene. Yes, I'm that cringe. So, anyways, Fuse does show up and he tries to, like, all right, everybody, let's settle down and stuff. And pretty much states that, like sort of having introductions, like, hi, I know you're about to vomit there on the ground and you're sweating bullets, but I'm Fuse, that's Clover, how you doing? Now, by the way, you're that new guild. Where's your guild leader? I'd like to meet him, blah, blah, blah. And Koji is completely ignoring Fuse and probably not even listening to what he's saying, goes over to March, who is completely traumatized on the ground, completely in the fetal position, and apparently something about a playground. Now, I like this, that Band is sort of pushing that envelope. This is what I mean. It's about the dialogue. Even though the art and the expressions, I feel like Band has a very good way of making people look in distress. That's one thing his art style is doing quite well, is showing actual fear and distress. He doesn't just do it with the eyes, he doesn't just do it with the sweat, he doesn't just do it with the mouth, he does it full body, full face. He uses everything on the face to tell us this person's a little fucked up. This person's a little fucked up right now. So I really like that, and the idea, and this is what I was talking about, the dialogue being important, because the playground. We don't need to know what that means. We don't actually need to know to get enough implications. Sort of reminds me of One Piece with the Boa sisters. There was enough implication, the word choices used, we can already formulate in our heads what went on. You know, we don't need to be shown it, we don't need to be told it direct, and it actually feels almost worse. I don't want to go to the playground. It's always very traumatizing, it's always very sickening when in mangas and in fiction and stories and in real life and stuff, unfortunately, where you take something childish, something that's supposed to bring joy, like, once again, clowns or playgrounds or candy or whatever, and you tear that word and you turn it and twist it into something dark or evil, or, you know, that kind of idea. That's one of the sicker things that people can do, and the playground clearly doesn't. That's clearly not a place that I remember going to as a playground, you know, a sandbox and a slide and stuff like that. I don't think that's the type of playground poor Marsh here on the ground is referring to. So Koji feels very distraught over this, tries to offer a hand, but now Marsh, of course, has snapped at this point, doesn't even recognize Koji, it seems, and starts swirling around, like this wind-based ability starts swirling around, and it's like, okay, so Marsh is apparently somewhat elemental in some way, causing a tornado of terror and distress, and isn't in actual control, and just, you know, it's sort of like Super Saiyan ki going on here, or ki in general. I don't think it's Super Saiyan level, but the ki going on. We see like the rocks sort of and everything rising, the aura of the ground is shaking, the wind is cutting down stop signs, shattering glass windows and everything in its path. And we get a flashback to Neve saying basically, remember, this person is still a little fucked up here. If something sets them off, if there's a trigger, subliminal messaging, anything like that, they can still be triggered at any time, even if they might seem normal after a while. So this is what has happened here with the way Clover has behaved. So both Fuse and Clover are going to try to, they're attempting to restrain him. They don't seem very worried, even though they see this power vacuum happening. They're not that worried that they can take down Marsh. Now that does make sense, but at the same time, it's like, this boy's a danger to the city, we gotta restrain him, yada yada yada. So, and we do look at that the Fuse and Clover are sort of shocked at the amount of power the Marsh at this age does have. Now Koji tries to step forward and do the very, this has been done how many times? How many times has this been done? This has been done in Kazuno Stigma, it's been done in Full Metal Panic, it's been done in Seven Deadly Sins, it's been done, but this time, a little bit of the flip side this time, sort of like Seven Deadly Sins in that regard, this is a little bit of the flip side. Koji walks through the Valley of Darkness. He walks through the Valley of Death. He gets all cut up and takes all the damage to get to the eye of the storm, to grab Marsh and say, it's alright, you can calm down, nobody's gonna hurt you. Normally that works, because it's a big show of courage, the hero's theme song plays, it's a really nice OST. Nope, not this time, and Marsh completely, nope, doesn't work, and that actually makes sense. The 2 months that have gone by with this mini time skip have made Marsh be able to cope much better, but once he's triggered, Koji doesn't have, it's not, you can't use the power of love, and at this point you can't use the power of friendship yet, because 2 months is not really a huge amount of time that they've spent, and this is a traumatized kid, and that kind of idea, so can't use power of love. Power of friendship at this point wouldn't even be strong enough, even if it could work, so at this point this actually narratively makes sense that even though Koji is trying to be like that, it's not getting through to Marsh at this point. There's not enough connection between Koji and Marsh yet on that level. So he gets slammed into a truck, and it's looking pretty brutal. Now, they're about to go in and everything, and then Tokyo arrives on scene. And just whack off to, once again, defuse the situation. Though that doesn't work with Tokyo. Fuse, defuse, that did work. But anyways, so yeah. They're talking about it. Fuse is remarking that this ability is almost like Gara-san sort of idea. He doesn't say Gara-san, but it's sort of acting like Gara-san from Naruto, which was a very cool ability, of course. So Tokyo has arrived, ends up picking up Koji and Marsh and said, all right, we're going back. We'll see you later, I don't really know what's going on. I got back from my mission, but I saw he was having a tantrum, so I knocked him the fuck out. So why Tokyo was able to did Tokyo speed blitz? I do have one question about this. Did Tokyo manage to speed blitz past all the wind, past the tornado? Was the wind stopped for a second or something like that? How did she just bang? Because Koji got all cut up, right? So maybe she was just good like that. She is trained Bruce Lee style. So something like that maybe. I'm not 100% sure. That's all I'm saying. Now, once they leave and everything, here's where we get the hype part. We get a little comedy in between Fuse and Clover here. Clover wants to bring Marsh down, thinking a liability, a danger, that kind of stuff. Fuse says we're going to be late for the big meeting, and we're like, okay, there's a meeting, so probably meeting with a client, something like that. And Fuse basically said, I may have sped up your watch by an hour last night as a joke and stuff, and Clover's like, oh, god damn it, and it's a funny moment, it's a comedic moment, but Fuse apparently was just kidding about the watch. So apparently Fuse has this very laid-back, sort of Aokiji, I'm doing a lot of One Piece references this chapter, but sort of this Aokiji sort of idea of doing their job. Sort of like, listen, these kids, this new guild, are interesting. They find them interesting, so because Fuse finds them interesting, just wants to go, just leave them alone. Let them deal with it. Let them do their own thing. Let them sort of get themselves a little spunk, a little powered up and stuff. I'm sure we'll run into them again. I'm curious about these guys, So doesn't want Clover to just go ape shit on anybody quite yet, right? So then we get, once again, the dialogue, which I think was one of the highlights of this chapter, because Band states sort of like in a narrative sense, which there's no square speech bubbles, Band, but the square speech bubble sort of narrative saying, and just like that, the two parties went their separate ways, not knowing that they would meet again in the near future, to deal with a situation that will drag, that will drag not only them, but many others into the center of a storm. Now, you can actually put that thing, you can put, to deal with a situation that drag not only them, you could, but will drag, come on, Band, I gotta correct you a little bit, but honestly, that little sequence there, that narrative that I just did, I really like the idea that they said into the center of a storm, you know, and just sort of explaining, like, it reminds me of the One Piece narrative. It reminds me of the narrators of things like, I can only think, I got One Piece on the brain for some reason today. I got One Piece on the brain, but it does remind me of the whole, like, and this event, which seems so small, will end up, like, these small little things are all coming to a head, and it's going to be big, big, big time. Big things are coming down the pipeline, and I always like that when they're building up the hype, and this is where Fuse says, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. It's been a while, and I was mistaken, as a lot of people were, with this page, but we'll get into this big next page, because then, as the meeting that Fuse and Clover are going to, as we are explained, is the meeting of the 10 deities. Dun dun dun! The 10 deities. So this is the powerful group. This is the power group in Band's comic. I think that this is a great way to get us excited for what characters are going to show up next, who's a member of them. Of course, we get all of them in silhouette, though you can recognize a handful. We get them all in silhouette and stuff, but this leads us to go, okay, we're sort of establishing a power ranking system. We're sort of establishing these people are part of the warlords, the admirals, the Yonko. Let's just keep going with the One Piece references here for ease of use. And these are the strongest. These are the strong guys. And I like this because at first I thought Band made a mistake. It was just a little wordy when he said that all of these people are capable of handling S-rank threats with little to no difficulty. 10 guild leaders that are on a level your average guild leader could only wish to achieve. Now, at first I thought, okay, so technically, so the top 10 people in the verse, as far as we know, these are the top 10. The top 10 people in the verse just also happen to be guild leaders. And I was thinking, like, maybe that was a bit of a typo, because I don't really think, like, logically speaking, what about people like in Fairy Tail, like Gildarts, had no desire to be a guild leader, would be considered stronger than in the top, the verse and stuff like that. Might even be considered the strongest inside the Fairy Tail guild, most likely. So, in stuff like that, I was a little shocked by this, but after I watched just before doing this recording, I ended up catching the VOD of Misk content stream about this chapter, and no, it's all 10 are considered, the 10 deities, they are considered, and they're all guild leaders. They're all guild leaders. So I was like, That being said, technically a guild could be one person, right? Technically there could be a guild with no members. You could, maybe Band's going to do something like that. Maybe they could also say, an ex-guild leader, but still sort of, once again, let's just keep going with the One Piece, Garp, who is technically, and Sengoku, who are retired, but not really. They keep their rank, they keep their fame, they keep everything. So, could be something like that, because, so I was thinking about that a little bit and everything, and I was just like, okay, this is very interesting. Also, apparently, Raton, of course, Raton is also a member of the High Hopes Guild, along with Fuse and Clover. Now, getting into the designs here. Very, very excited. I don't really know who most of these people are. At first, I also assumed we had Fuse there as well, because I thought, okay, guild leaders, that might be a bit of a typo or something, like, but the way Band was wording it, he just meant, okay, all these people, this is what all guild leaders aspire to have. They aspire to all guild leaders want to have one of or more of these 10 people in their guild. They want someone like this in their employ, is what I thought at first, and he's just sort of messed up the wording. But no, he didn't mess up the wording. all 10 of these people own 10 separate guilds. Now, that being said, apparently one of the largest members there, or closest members to us, these designs all look really cool from what we can see. Some people are just silhouetted so far in the background we can't see them really. We've got a very luxurious babe. Who the hell that is, I have no idea, but apparently Band's studying a fairy tale of Mashima is really paying off. It's really paying off in some big ways, some fully formed ways, I would say. They truly. So good job, Band. Apparently the person there is not Fuse, because they all have to be guild leaders. So this means that Rattan and Fuse, who are part of the High Hopes Guild, Clover is obviously there, so Clover is the guild leader. This is confirmation, because people were sort of questioning that. Is Fuse stronger than Clover? Is Clover stronger than Fuse? I automatically thought that, I didn't think Clover was the guild leader, but I thought that Clover was higher ranked than Fuse within the guild. Clearly that is the case. So we have Clover there. We have Bob clearly in the background. Bob is in the background there. We have Band. I believe that one of these people has to be Band. I think it's the person sort of waving in the background right beside one of Bob's arms. And the other ones, we have somebody upside down. A lot of people in Miststream were referring to it as like a Shinji type character. It's sort of what I thought at first too. I can't really tell who the other guys are. One looks like that classic delinquent punk on the other side of Bob there. Yeah, I think that's all the people we recognize. I mean, there is this guy off to the right-hand side. Looks extraordinarily handsome, even in silhouette form. I mean, you can just tell he's just reeking with attractiveness and sex appeal. I mean, he's just the Jeff Goldblum. He's definitely the he's the icon. He's the Burt Reynolds. He's the Sean Connery. He's just oozing as the epitome of sex symbolism right there. Yeah. I'm not sure who this character is meant to be, of course, silhouetted, but even just off the page silhouetted, I could feel that this was one ruggedly handsome individual who is probably going to be a pretty amazing character. I just have this odd feeling. And all the characters, being Clover so far has been pretty cool and stuff, but we haven't really seen enough from these people, but just as an offhand, idea. I think that person down there is... At the far right is going to be very exciting, very cool character to get to know. Hopefully we get to be introduced to them sooner rather than later. That being the case, though, this was a fantastic chapter. This was a really good chapter. As I said, I think the dialogue sold the chapter much more than the imagery. I feel like the dialogue was improved. I think Band worked on this a little harder to make sure that it was coming across, to make the right word choices. As I said, it wasn't a flat, it wasn't cheesy, it wasn't any of that. It actually sort of taken on a bit of a personality, this chapter, the way the narrator speaks versus the way the characters are speaking and stuff. It's not all one-dimensional. So, excellent job there. And of course, the final visual, though, which has clearly got to be the thumbnail, is really hype. It looks really cool. I love the style of silhouette that Band went with. It's a certain style. But I forget what it's called, but it does work out quite well. Now, out of the people that we do know, which I can only assume so far, 4. 4 is all I know, actually. Yeah, 3? No, 4. 4 of these people I can with confidence say I'm almost not, I'm 99% sure are here, and that is, of course, Clover, the ruggedly handsome sex symbol, Bob, and Band himself. I believe that those 4 are clearly here. Now, who could the others be? I'm thinking at least one of them is a bozo. I think that Band would do that twist, that maybe, hence why the bozos would be so powerful. Maybe right now, current, one of the bozos is one of the gods, right? One of these individuals, one of these 10, and then turns traitor later, turns against them, betrayal, something like that. So one of them could be a bozo. and I think the other one is V. Or at least whoever V works for, potentially. I think it's whatever's to do with Marsh, one of these characters are involved. So those are my 2 guesses that I have, but that only gets us to 6. Now you could argue that maybe 2 bozos there, but even then that only gets us to 7. So I don't know, at the end of the day, even if I stretch my theories and my guesses, I still got 3 that I have zero idea who they are. So that's incredibly exciting. I sort of hope next chapter what we get is we finally get we get to see the meeting. We get to see what they're talking about, and we get introduced to each character, and it's like, Mihawk, bounty level, this, Shanks, Yonko, this, and all that stuff. We get the title cards for all the people, and they get to interact and stuff like that, because this is where power scaling is going to go nuts. These are the top 10, who's stronger than who? Who knows? But either way, really great chapter. Honestly, there was so much to talk about. I can understand why Misk's, even though he jumped into VC and stuff, I can understand why his stream was over an hour long for this chapter, because there was quite a bit to discuss. There's quite a bit to theorize about. There's quite a bit to praise. There was a lot to talk about. So that's why this review is going to be so damn long. Probably 30 minutes by the time I'm done. So, but that is the end of the review. That's the end of the chapter. Like, comment, and subscribe as always. I'm sorry that this one was longer, but I feel like there was a lot of things to talk about. I feel like there was a lot of praise to be said for what Ban's been pulling off in these latest chapters. He's slowly building us up. He's like, okay, I got the introduction, I got our characters, I got our cast. Boom, boogity boogity boo, let's go racing, right? Like, let's get to the good shit. So I feel like Ban is doing that. I don't feel like he's jumping the gun. I feel like this is great pacing. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, drink responsibly as always. And your host with the most, Griever, will be back next Tuesday with Chapter 15 of Miscellaneous. Hope to see you all there. And have a good one, everyone. Peace out.